They thought she was just a shy farm girl, but when the bullies cornered her little brother, they learned the hard way what a Navy SEAL can do. Don't miss this jaw-dropping story. And if you want more heart-pounding tales like this, make sure to subscribe. Mary Whitfield had always been known around the small rural town of Green Hollow as the quiet farm girl who kept her head down, worked the fields with her younger brother Caleb, and never said much to anyone. But what no one knew, not even the sheriff, was that before returning home to care for her ailing father, Mary had spent 8 grueling years in the United States Navy SEALs, trained in covert operations, survival, and every form of combat imaginable. Though she never boasted about it, never spoke of it, never even hinted at the classified missions she had undertaken in distant deserts and dark seas, to the townsfolk, she was just the girl in mud-stained overalls hauling feed bags yet to a few bitter local bullies, Travis Cole and his gang of roughnecks. She became an easy target, a quiet loner they could torment to feed their own fragile egos, starting with nasty words at the farmer's market, then escalating to shoving Caleb against barn doors, throwing rocks at the Whitfield tractor, and finally showing up late one evening when the sun had blood red across the cornfields, drunk and spoiling for a fight, laughing as they threatened to teach that little runt a lesson. While Mary silently stacked hay, her jaw clenched, her blue eyes measuring every move like a sniper lining up a shot, she gave them warnings, calm, even polite. But bullies never listen, and when Travis grabbed Caleb by the collar, shoving him into the dust, Mary's mask slipped for the first time in years, her body moving with lethal precision, twisting Travis's wrist until he dropped like a stone, spinning to disarm Cody's switchblade with a single bone-shattering kick, taking down 3 men in less than 10 seconds with the controlled efficiency of a soldier who'd been trained to end fights before they began. Though she stopped just short of permanent damage because Mary wasn't a killer anymore. She was a protector, stunned and humiliated. The gang limped away swearing revenge, but Mary knew this wasn't over, and indeed 2 nights later they returned under cover of darkness, headlights off, armed with crowbars and bad intentions, only to find themselves caught in a nightmare as Mary lured them into the barn where she'd rigged tripwires, improvised traps, and a floodlight that blinded them as she emerged from the shadows in full tactical gear she hadn't worn since her last deployment, moving silently, striking from angles they couldn't predict, disarming them one by one while whispering in a voice cold as steel, "You came to hurt my family." Big mistake. Caleb watched from the hayloft, wide-eyed but unafraid now, seeing the sister he'd always admired reveal the truth of who she was. And when Sheriff Dalton arrived after an anonymous call reporting a disturbance, he found 3 battered bullies tied on the ground begging for mercy, Mary leaning against a post like nothing had happened. And though Dalton suspected she'd done far more than she admitted, there wasn't a scratch on her or Caleb. And the gang never pressed charges out of sheer embarrassment, leaving town a week later. Yet the real twist came months after, when an old enemy from Mary's SEAL past tracked her to Green Hollow, a rogue arms dealer she'd once stopped from smuggling weapons overseas, now intent on revenge, forcing Mary to team up with Sheriff Dalton and even, ironically, Travis Cole, who, having learned painful respect, returned to warn her of strangers asking questions in town. The unlikely trio fought side by side during a midnight siege on the Whitfield farm, turning silos and irrigation lines into a battlefield where Mary's tactics saved them all, and by the end, the entire town finally understood the truth about the quiet farm girl, though Mary herself slipped away before dawn to protect her brother from any more danger, leaving only a note in Caleb's hand, "Take care of the farm. Be strong. I'll be back when it's safe." Caleb stood at the fence watching the horizon, proud tears in his eyes, as somewhere in the distance Mary vanished like a shadow, a soldier once more, ready to finish what others had started, and the bullies who once mocked her. They told anyone who'd listen that she was the most dangerous and the kindest person they'd ever met, swearing never to underestimate another quiet soul again, because you never know what battles someone has already fought, or what kind of warrior hides beneath a humble smile.